Hello and welcome to today's video. So today we're going to talk all things law of attraction, a simple 5-step process that is repeatable to manifest everything and anything you want. But before I get started today, we're at the beach and I just want to show you, look at all of this. This is seaweed. See all this black stuff? It's seaweed. It's everywhere. You see it down there as well. So this happens seasonally in one of these beaches in Povoa, and they'll come along with a tractor and they'll scoop all of this seaweed up and then they use it to fertilise the farms. So this way you get really mineral rich, because this is sea vegetation, so it's full of all of the minerals that are in the sea, and you get to repopulate the soils. So Portuguese food is really quite high quality because they're constantly replenishing with all of this seaweed that washes up basically the same time every year. So really cool, and yeah, really foggy as well. So look, I'll show you the buildings over here. Look, you can see. Look how cool that is. Really interesting. So today we're talking law of attraction. Hi Joanna. We're talking law of attraction, and I'm going to walk you through a simple 5-step process of how to basically manifest anything you want. So this is repeatable. This works for anything. This works for health. This works for relationships. This works for wealth, money, finances. It works for everything. You just follow these 5 simple steps. So these are simple steps, right? But it's harder to do than... It's one of those things that it's very simple, but it's hard to do. So I'm going to walk you through these steps so at least you have a framework to follow, so you can actually make sure you're trying to get some more repeatable, reliable results. So 5 steps. First step. So Joanna says, please put some seaweed on your skin. I'll do that. I'll do that. all the older ladies in Povoa, which is where I am, they walk around and you see them slapping seaweed on their back because it's really rich in iodine and all these minerals. So I'm going to do the same. So 5 steps. First step, what is it? First step is the law of contrast. So the law of contrast is all about helping you become aware of what you want through experiencing what you don't want. So you might become aware that you want to have riches, you want to have loads of money by not having enough money to pay your rent. You know, that's the law of contrast. You're having an experience in your life that helps you realize what you want. You might realise that you want to be really healthy and vibrant and able to do lots of things health-wise by not being able to do lots of things, by having really poor health, by having really low energy. You might want to know that you can have really strong digestion and eat all of these lovely foods that you want to enjoy by going through a period of having food sensitivities and not being able to eat them. So this is the law of contrast in action, and this is step 1. You have to understand that this step is essential. And this really helps, in a way, to drop lots of resistance to these negative experiences in your life. Because when you can begin to see that these are actually part of the solution, that this feeling of lack or this feeling of not having what you want is actually an essential part of you getting what you want, that really helps you drop a lot of resistance to it. Because instead of thinking, I'm here and I don't have what I want, you actually see how this is a very intrinsic part of you getting what you want. So that's the first step. But it's really important that you don't get stuck here. Lots of people get stuck at this point. You're like, I want to lose weight, I want to have more health, I never have enough money and I want to have more money. And you get stuck here. And this is where people get stuck with the law of attraction, is once you become aware of what you want through the law of contrast, you need to move through these steps and not get stuck at step 1. Being stuck at step 1 sucks, because you're just becoming more and more aware of what you want by experiencing what you don't want, which is really bad in the moment, but it's an essential part. So we have to accept that this law of contrast exists, and the only way that we can figure out what we want is by experiencing what we don't want, and then acknowledging that that's what's happened. This is the law of contrast, and then we move into step 2. Step 2 is the law of polarity. So we currently live in a world, in a universe of polarity, and what this word means is we live in a world that has duality. So we have masculine and feminine. We have light, we have dark. We have happy, we have sad. We have each property is defined by its opposite. And that's how we experience this reality. And that you can see that very much in the law of contrast. We can figure out what we want by experiencing what we don't want. So when we move into step 2, it's about understanding that through the logic of this law of contrast and through understanding polarity, for this situation to come into your life, oh, she's getting very aggressive over there, for this situation to come into your life, the solution must also exist. You cannot have a want without that want being met. You cannot have a problem without a solution being created. When something is created, it is created through its definition with its opposite. So for your health problems to happen, there has to be a solution. For your financial difficulties to appear, there must be a way for money to come to you. It's defined in this law of polarity. And when you understand that through the problem being defined, you're saying, I don't have enough money, that through this law of polarity, there is a way for you to have and access this money. So that's the second step, is to just accept that there is a solution to your problem, that there is a way for the universe to meet the desire that you have. Because if you're living in a perception where you want this and it's not possible for you to have it, you're just stuck in step one and you're not even acknowledging that there's polarity to the situation. If you can acknowledge that you don't have what you want, but you do live in a universe where you can have what you want and it does exist out there, and it is there, that's the second step. Once we've acknowledged that you can have what you want and it does exist out there in some way, we just have to figure out how we can get it to come to you. That's where we move to step 3. Step 3 is about removing resistance. So through this law of polarity, we understand that the solution not only exists, but it actually wants to come towards you. As you've defined the problem, the solution actually wants to come and provide itself to you. It's already on the way. And it's about us having resistance to this solution that stops it from coming towards us. So this can be really interesting, where we can utilize a type of a technique called parts work, where we understand that we're not just a cohesive ego identity. Like, I could say, my name is William and I identify with integrity and honesty and truth, and I like health and healing, and like these are all the things that I'm identified with. And I might be identified with things like I am selfish, I am never angry, I'm always kind. But again, through this polarity, we can only have these aspects of ourselves if we have the other aspects. So for you to be kind, you also have to be aware of just how unkind you can be. For you to be peaceful, you have to be aware of just how angry and just how violent you can be. So what's often happening in this step where we have resistance is, from our conscious perspective, so from the part of ourselves that we're identified with, we say we want something. So we say, like, I want a lot of money, right? I want loads of money. I want so much money that I don't even have to ever think about spending money on anything ever again. I just go there, I want it, I buy it, and you have it, right? That's what I want, right? And that's where I'm moving. But it's a process of dropping resistance to this, because in order to do that, there's often programs that we've picked up. Like one programming that I can very acutely remember that I picked up from my dad was him saying something like, they can't take what you don't have. So it's really interesting how I've sort of absorbed this as a protective mechanism, because it's one thing to have something, but it's another thing to have it and then to lose it. And it hurts a lot to have something and to lose it. So by not having anything, it sort of serves me in a way, because I'm small, I'm insignificant, nobody notices me, I don't have anything that anybody would want to take away from me. So there's this part of me that actually feels safer not having money, and this part is manifesting without me being aware. So it's like, well, it actually serves us to be poor. It serves us to not have money because we can be safe. So in essence, this step is all about figuring out how you are in resistance to the thing that you're consciously identified with wanting. So let's look at this from a health perspective. Let's look at it through the lens of health. You could say, I really want to be healthy, I want to be able to be independent, I want to be so healthy that I don't have to rely on anyone. But there's a part of you that knows, if you're really that healthy, you're going to isolate yourself from everybody and you're going to be alone. And that part of you is terrified of you being alone. So I hear this all the time. This is a really common thing, especially in the spiritual community. It's like, they say, I just want to make so much money that I can go and live alone in a homestead, really remotely, off-grid, and I don't have to interact with anyone. I can be completely independent. And it never happens. And this is because the part of them that does not want to be alone, that is terrified of being alone, constantly sabotages their conscious efforts. So this is a form of resistance, and it's subconscious. It's happening subconsciously because you're not aware of it. Nikki Reed says, oh, I can connect with that in reference to dating. Yeah, you can apply this template applies to everything. Every time you have a want or desire, it can be met, but you have to figure out how you're actually in resistance to that. So with health, or with these situations of like having so much money you can go and be independent, it's usually because the way that your mind is currently operating, your body knows that if you were to have all of this money and you were to have all of this health, you would isolate yourself from all of these sources of intimate connection that you have. And it might not be the deepest intimate connection, but it's the best you're currently able to get. And your body wants that. You want that. A part of you wants that. So if you can then instead get this part of you on board, so instead of getting loads of money or getting really healthy and then going and isolating yourself in an island resort when you never have to engage with anyone, you say, actually, I understand there's a part of me that really wants to be intimately connected and surrounded with other people. And then you can change this direction that you're going to go with this, and you can incorporate this part and say, okay, well, when I have really money, and when I have loads of money and I'm really rich and I'm really wealthy and I don't want or need for anything, instead of using this money to isolate myself, which puts this part in jeopardy, you're going to say, I'm going to use this money to create a community. I'm going to use this money to build a support network of lovely people that respect my boundaries and want the best for me and support my personal growth. And they're also on the same mission of fully integrating all of their parts and becoming a completely cohesive person. And that way, you've now taken this part, this almost subconscious resistance to you being wealthy, out of the equation, which makes it just that much easier for the money to come towards you. I'll tell you this from personal experience. Most often, we don't actually want money. We don't want more money. Like, it's not... The law of attraction works based on feeling. And you don't necessarily get more of a sense of safety from having... It's usually about money, right? We want money so that we can cover our bills, we can make sure that we're fed, we can buy protection, we can pay the rent. It's about safety. So what's happening is usually there's a deeper underlying incentive here to wanting more money, and it's actually to feel a sense of safety, or to have an increased sense of self-resilience. So you feel like you are able to, even if you don't have any money, right? So imagine you get lost in the city, you don't have any money. It's like you have that inner resourcefulness, that inner resilience, to be able to get where you want to go, to be able to survive, to be able to lean on your own intrinsic gifts, talents, skills, social ability, interaction with others, to be able to survive, to get where you want to go. And when you really do this, when you get to a point where you feel so resilient, you feel so connected with your inner supply, it doesn't matter how much money is in your bank, you feel wealthy, you feel abundant. And I can kind of mirror this at the minute, because I've just spent a lot of my money on moving house and buying furniture, and I would say that if you looked at this objectively, I'm in one of the weakest financial positions I've been in the last 2 years. But that doesn't mirror my energetic state. Like, energetically, I feel abundant. I don't feel any fear around spending the money where I know it needs to be spent, because I know that I have intrinsic resourcefulness, and when I need to be able to create money or generate money or allow money to flow into me, I'll be resourceful enough to be able to tap into that. I'll come up with a new offer, I'll connect with a new client. Something will happen in a really magical way, and it will bring me the resources that I need. And it's a feeling, you know? You can just say this, but if inside the feeling is insecurity, it doesn't work from a law of attraction perspective, because it's all about the feeling. So if you were to say, I feel abundant, I feel wealthy, I feel connected to my supply, but in reality, how you actually feel is really insecure, you're not only not working with the law of attraction, you're actually attracting the opposite of what you want, because the part of you that is afraid, that is asking for integration, so this emotion is becoming present so you can integrate it, you're repressing it, you're pushing it down, you're pushing it deeper inside yourself, and you're becoming less aware of it, which is not the solution, because then you're just going to be stuck in a reality where you're not actually able to attract or manifest anything you actually want. So this step is all about becoming aware of your resistance and releasing that resistance to it, and allowing a place of magnetism where whatever it is that you want is just going to come to you. I wouldn't say effortlessly. Effortlessly kind of gives the idea that you're just going to sit on your ass and not do anything. It doesn't work like that. But what it means is you're going to take aligned action. So instead of just frantically out of the emotion of despair, like doing everything. So I see this a lot in health, right? It's like, I'm in despair, I can't stand where I am right now, so I'm just going to buy all the supplements, I'm going to work with all the practitioners, I'm going to do everything. I just can't stand being where I am. Like, the energy that you're vibrating there is despair. And all it's going to bring to you is more despair, because that's the energy that you're at. So if instead you can get yourself centered, you can bring yourself into an energy of empowerment and act based through that energy of empowerment. Like, I can see the difference when clients come to work to me. They're either in a vibration of despair, they want me to fix all their problems, or they come to me and they're in a vibration of resourcefulness and confidence, and they're like, I'm coming to work with you and I know that this is the solution for me. And when it's that case, it always is. And when they come to me with a vibration of despair, I have to make it really clear, I can't fix you, you know? I'm helping you figure out how to heal yourself. And we need to address this underlying energetic state if we want to make any progress. Nikki says, I totally do this, I relate. Really cool, really good. It means you're getting there with these laws, these principles. Michael says, the law of attraction happens through intention. It's true, but it's not intention. If intention is derived purely through the conscious, through the concepts of yourself that you've integrated, it's not going to work. You need to look at the facets of yourself that aren't integrated. So you manifest more, most people are manifesting more through their subconscious than through their conscious. Because all of these other parts, these sub-communities of ourselves, they have their own very powerful points of attraction. So we can have an intention of making lots of money, but as I was using in this example, if there's a part of you that isn't on board with making money because it knows that if you make lots of money, you're going to isolate yourself and then you're going to be alone, it's going to do absolutely everything it can in its power to sabotage your efforts to make money. So it's going to make you self-sabotage, it's going to make you fail at things, it's going to make you say things that sabotage you making any money, because it doesn't want you to have money, because it doesn't want to feel isolated and alone. So the intention is absolutely important, it's essential, but it doesn't just work through the parts of yourself that you're identified with. It doesn't just work through the ego. We have to integrate all of these unintegrated facets before that's going to work. I would say that it happens through intention if you're fully integrated. And I don't know anyone that actually is. But if you're fully integrated, if you are fully aware of all of the parts of yourself, then it's all about intention. You just set the intention and it will manifest. Georgie Porgy, I love that name. Georgie Porgy says, hello from Australia. Hello, lovely to have you. We're in Portugal at the minute. We've got a very misty day today. It's clearing a little bit though. It's getting a bit sunnier, and we've got seaweed over here. Look at that. Rhonda says determination. So yes, but also no. The law of attraction works through finesse, not through brute force. So you cannot just bulldoze past parts of yourself that aren't integrated. It's important that you set an intention, and that's where the determination comes in, but it's not a brute force thing. It's about finesse. It's about the power through subtlety. It's not about brute force. Georgie Porgy says it can be very hard to get into an empowered positive state at times when the infections are completely overriding your emotions. Okay, so let's look at where you are here. So I think that from where you're at the current level of awareness that you have of the situation, it feels like the infections are against you, not for you. I find that over and over again, when we look at the energetics of infections and chronic infections that are not resolved by physical intervention, there's an underlying energetic or emotional energy that these infections are feeding on. So there's a part of yourself that isn't manifesting through your conscious behavior. So these parasites, these infections, these dysbiotic organisms are present as they feed on these energetic states. So once you're able to shift these energies from being unconscious to conscious, and once you're able to channel them consciously through that ego intention behavior, that energy that they're feeding on is no longer present, and they cannot stay in your body. So these organisms have a specific vibrational frequency that they're able to live in. And if you can shift your vibrational frequency, it changes the state of your energetics, and they become intolerable in this current environment, and they will pass by themselves. So the fact that you have an infection indicates that there's an energy that these organisms are able to live in. And if you shift that vibration, the infection will resolve itself. And the infection is trying to bring to light the emotion or the part of yourself that is unintegrated, that needs to be integrated. So we could look at this from a perspective of, look at the emotions that you feel towards the infection. So as you said, you find it's hard to get into an empowering positive state. All of the emotions that come up that you feel towards the infection are the emotions that aren't integrated, that you need to integrate. And once you integrate them, currently, because you can't channel them effectively, you're manifesting this infection so that you can feel these emotions towards it. So if you can instead figure out how to channel these emotions in a different way, more consciously, more intentionally in your life, in your ego identity, they won't have to manifest as an infection anymore. And you won't have to project these emotions onto this external situation of infection. Rona says, I get it now, thanks, brilliant. Nikki says, oh yes, great. So I love that you're enjoying this. So this is step 3. This is where I find most people get stuck, is dropping the resistance. If you need help dropping the resistance, it can be really helpful to get an external perspective. It's really hard to work your way out of these things yourself. Georgie says, I understand. I'm working on shifting my frequency, but yes, still have trauma that needs to be integrated. If you need any help with that, I'd be happy to help. I've got a bucket load of different reintegration techniques that I'd be more than happy to share with you. So if you need help with that, just let me know. So this moves us on to step 4. Step 4 is about, once we've released all of this resistance, we can still have another form of resistance, which is impatience. So this is like, I'll be happy when, I'll be content if, I'll feel healthy when. What we need to do in this stage is, now that we've released as much resistance as we can, and this is normally fluctuating, right? We go back between step 3 and 4, because as we're in step 4, more things will come to our awareness that aren't integrated, and then we switch back into step 3. We keep working on reintegrating, then we move back to step 4. Step 4 is a process where we try to find contentment where we are. So this is the best place to be from a law of attraction perspective, because you're not in a state of wanting, you're not in a state of desire, you're in a state of contentment with where you are. If you can find satisfaction with where you're currently at, that's the best energetic state to cause whatever you want to come catapulting towards you, to just manifest in a magical way. So the best way we can do this is to use positivity, but not to go as far as toxic positivity and to bypass our negative emotions. So say you're having a flare-up, right? And you've got all of these symptoms that are coming up that are making you feel a certain way towards these symptoms. So say, for example, you've got, I'll use some things that I've experienced. Say you're having a gastritis flare-up. You know this gastritis is a somaticized emotion of anger. So you feel this gastritis and then you feel into it and all you feel is anger. You're like, and as well, there's betrayal. You know, you're like, why are you doing this to me, stomach? Why are you betraying me? Why can't you work properly? You feel betrayal. And this is actually just a somaticized emotion from a trauma in the past that needs reintegrating. So you can be aware of that. You can say, oh, I'm aware this emotion is somaticizing as a physical symptom. It's manifesting in a physical way right now as this. And acknowledge it and say, okay, I know I need to work on betrayal. I need to work on healing this wound around betrayal. And set time aside to do that. And like, I would say this is something you need to work with someone, right? Say, I acknowledge that this is betrayal. I acknowledge this is a problem I'm probably not going to be able to figure out by myself, and I'm going to get the help that I need to work on integrating this emotion. And go and work with somebody. Be that a coach, be that an integration therapist, be that somebody that does family constellations, be that CBT, like whatever feels aligned to you, go and do some type of therapy. Work on it, work on it. But have a positive focus of, I'm empowered in this, I know I have this betrayal trauma that's trapped, and I'm taking positive action about it. And be optimistic, Don't get stuck in this, oh, I'm a victim, I've had so many people betray me, I've got all this anger, I don't know what to do with it, and it's like, well, figure it out, Take an empowered attitude with this. Go and work with someone to get on top of this and learn how to use this emotion. Understand that this is all happening for your best interests. See how this is a really intelligent, adaptive response of your body. And you can still feel frustrated about it, you can still feel angry, you can still feel betrayed, but understand that this is actually all working for you. This is all happening to help you get to your authentic self-expression where you're able to manifest effortlessly. So understand that you feel all these emotions towards it and get the help that you need and do the work you need to do, but see how this is all part of the grand scheme of things and it's actually working out in your best interests. And try to maintain that positive focus, even with this microcosmic betrayal, anger, frustration. Acknowledge that, feel it, validate it, get help for it, but know that it's all actually working out for you. And this is all actually positive in the end. And step 5 is really about condensing steps 1 to 4, but being able to understand that every time you experience step 1, you don't feel so much despair about not having what you want. You understand, at this point, you move back into step 1. So say you achieve a new level of health. Like for me, it was going through healing all of my food sensitivities, right? So I could eat 6 foods, had a huge healing breakthrough, now I can eat anything and everything I want. Consequently, as I can eat anything and everything I want, I've now gained a lot of weight. So I'm at a point where I want to start trimming a little bit of weight off. And I see that this is a problem, and I see it's the law of contrast in action again. So it's like, okay, now I'm aware more of what I want by experiencing what I don't want. And instead of getting all worked up and like throwing myself into this big mess, it's like, okay, I acknowledge that I now am more aware of what I want through the law of contrast. Move into the second step. So not staying there, not staying in step one. And this is where people get stuck, you know? Oh, I'm fat and I don't want to be fat. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I've gained weight. And you get stuck here. It's like, great, okay, acknowledge that, move to step two. Step two is, I acknowledge I have a little bit more weight than I want, and I understand that the solution is there. There is a way that I can find a way to lose this weight in a way that feels good, in a way that feels aligned, in a way that is going to be really easy and, again, not effortless. Doesn't mean you don't have to take any action, but the action that you take is going to feel aligned, it's going to feel good, it's going to have positive emotion attached to it. So I'm aware of that, and I know that I'm a bit stuck here, because I've become aware that the part of me that was repressed, that was causing the food sensitivities, whenever I want to restrict my diet now, feels like I don't love it. Because whenever I feel hungry and don't eat, a part of me perceives that I don't love it. So I need to work on this, and it's not something I can figure out by myself. So I'm going to go to therapy, I'm going to work with my family constellations therapist, I'm going to work with my coach, I'm going to do all of these different things, and I'm going to get the help that I need. But I'm not getting stuck in a despair, victim energy about it. I'm empowered. I understand that I'm now in step two, the solution is there. Moving to step three, finding the resistance. The resistance is, there's a part of me that feels like I don't love myself if I don't eat when I'm hungry. So I need to figure out how to rebuild the relationship with this part. Once I get this part on board, move to step four, be content where I am. I am content where I am. Even though I do have a little bit more weight than I do, I'm so happy with my current health situation. I have achieved like miraculous levels of healing. Increased energy, increased vitality. I can eat anything and everything I want. So it's like, even if I feel bad, I just go and eat some ice cream, you know? And it's like, okay, it's not so bad. And yes, that does feed the problem of gaining a little bit more weight. But again, I'm not in resistance. I know that's a problem that's going to be solved very shortly because the solution is already on the way. So this is step 5, right? I can go through this 4-step process and I'm fine, you know? I don't feel extremely unbearable hopelessness, despair, like I'm stuck in step 1. It's like, I know the solution's already coming to me and I'm completely fine with where I'm at. And I went and had lunch at my mother-in-law's house, and now I'm enjoying the beach, and it's really cool, and I'm at peace with the process. So this is the 5-step formula. Step 1, law of contrast. You become aware of what you want by experiencing what you don't want. Step 2, law of polarity. By your problem being defined, your solution has also been defined, and it's already on its way to you. Step 3, acknowledge that is on its way to you, and figure out where you have resistance to what it is you want coming towards you, and get rid of that resistance, integrate that resistance. Step 4, be content where you are. Understand that all of the balls are rolling, you know, you've taken all the positive action you can, you're working with the people that you need to work with, you're integrating the emotions that need to be integrated, and find bliss and peace and relaxation in where you're currently at, you know, because this is a 4-step process that you're going to experience for the rest of your life, you know? It's going to keep happening. Whenever you reach the new milestone of being content with where you are, you're going to experience step 1, and you're going to figure out something else that you want by experiencing what you don't want. And come to peace with that process. And then step 5 is repeat that whole cycle again, and understand that this is part of life, this is how you manifest. Step 1 is just as important as step 2, 3, and 4, you know? You're always going to have things that you don't have, so you can experience what it's like to get them. That's what life's all about. Nikki says, this is so fantastic. Brilliant, I love that. Andy says, I don't feel any negative emotions or trauma feeling anymore. I feel like, this is a really interesting question. I feel like now, if I had my physical health completely good, I know I have the potential to achieve anything I want in my life. I'm now honest with myself, compassionate and loving all the time. I just need the physical ability to focus and physically do the things I love now. I don't feel like a victim anymore. I know one day I will fix my health for good, and I will be content with what I'm doing in my life. I no longer have to feel stress over the future or past, as everything I've ever wanted is coming to me with time. So that sounds like you are... I think that there's a part of you that's in step 4, you're at peace with where you are. I think that so the fact that you have physical health conditions means that there's parts of yourself that you have so deeply repressed that they're now, so you've got the conscious up here, then you've got the subconscious. So conscious is like your ego identity. It's the behaviors that you have that you're consciously aware of. Subconscious is where you have behavioral patterns that you're not aware of, and that's the problem, right? You're not aware of them. They need to be integrated. This is where the integration stage happens. But one step further than that, one step deeper into repression, you've got somaticization. So this is where these subconscious parts, these parts you weren't aware of, you kept repressing, and even when you tried to express them subconsciously, it was usually unsafe. So these parts were either sort of like beaten out of you, or they were emotionally intimidated out of you, and they now have to express physically instead. So they express as a physical symptom. So what we need to do is, at this level, I find it's really impossible to do any work on integration before we work on building up a new level of communication with the body. So you can only integrate what you can communicate with effectively. So if there's parts of you that you now can't even communicate with because they've been repressed all the way down to the somatic level, we need to bring our communication into the somatic realms to be able to talk with these parts. So I've developed a technique called SRT, somatic release technique, that's all about doing this. So Georgie Porgy says, I find somatic experiencing is good for this, and that is really cool. So the way that I built SRT is I used a lot of somatic experiencing myself. I saw a somatic experiencing practitioner. It was really helpful. I took all of the really good strategies that worked there, and I've layered on all of the other approaches that I've picked up from all of the other types of therapies, coaches, and things I've worked with, and I've built SRT. So it's a combination of somatic experiencing, parts work, all of these different kinds of modalities, including things like Reiki, the emotion code, all of these other techniques that I find work really well, because not everybody's at a level where SRT even works. You know, when these parts have been so deeply repressed, we really lose a lot of communication with the body. And some people can just start communicating with them through somatic sensations. Some people can't, and everybody needs a different technique. So it's really about finding something that works for you, but you can't integrate what you can't communicate with. So if it's suppressed so deeply that it's manifesting as a physical symptom, you're going to have a really hard time integrating with it. It's going to be really hard to communicate with this part because it doesn't feel safe talking with you. So it only manifests now as a physical symptom. So we have to bring the conversation down to the level that this part feels safe communicating at, which is physically, as physical sensations. And that's what somatic experiencing and SRT is all about. So Georgie Porgy says, I find somatic experiencing good for this. I go to parts work too. SRT sounds great. If you're interested in trying some SRT, I'd be really happy to do that with you. Let me know. Reach out if you're interested in trying that. So that's it. That's your step-by-step guide to manifest the life of your dreams. You can manifest health, wealth, relationships, the career that you love, authentic self-expression. It's all about this 5-step process. And the more you practice this, the better you get. So every time you feel yourself in step 1, understand you're in step 1, move to step 2. Once you move to step 2, move to step 3, and practice this. It's a step-by-step process. It's a formula. And you just keep practicing it over and over again, and it works, you know? You get to a point where life really becomes a magical experience, and every time something bad happens, the instinct thought, like, something happened and I realised I was in a financially difficult position. And the thought that came up, you know, most people I think would think, like, shit, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, oh, this always happens to me. What am I going to do? The thought that came up to me instinctively was, I wonder how I'm going to tap into my inner resourcefulness to find my way out of this situation. And it was like, that's a really cool initial thought to come up, you know? So you can really change the dynamic of everything. You can have these stage 1 experiences come into your life so you can experience situations like finding out how resourceful you actually are. You can experience things of loneliness and separation so you can understand how amazing it feels to be in love and to feel intimacy and have intimate experiences. This is the magical experience of life, and if you look at it through this lens, these 5 steps of the law of attraction, not only does it take a lot of the sting away from all of the negative things that are happening in your life, but it actually helps you to get more of the things you actually want. Because the truth about this universe, the truth about this reality is, you didn't come here to live a mediocre life. You didn't come here to just experience pain and suffering. You came here to experience the contrast, and you've probably already felt enough of the bad stuff that it's time for you to feel the good stuff, you know? It's time for you to feel rich. It's time for you to feel healthy. It's time for you to feel in love with your life. And you're at that step now. You've felt the bad stuff enough. So let's move to feeling the good stuff. So stop getting stuck in step 1 and work yourself through that process. If you need any help with that, I'd be more than happy to do that. That's literally what I'm doing in my life. I find it's something I do very naturally. It's something I'm really good at helping other people with. So if you'd like some help with that, I'd be more than happy to offer it. So please reach out, let me know. That's everything for today. I'm going to go and have a walk up the beach with all of this fog and seaweed and enjoy my day. So you have a lovely day. If you need anything, just reach out. Ciao.